Welcome back, everybody. It is episode 47, I think, of the fucking Ridiculous podcast. I have been so excited all day long to record, and I finally have a few moments, and I am out on my porch. No one is in my house right now, which is awesome. I think most of the neighbors have already finished blowing their lawns today, which seems to happen in one particular house daily. And anyway, I'm hoping that this will be stress-free and that the microphone is close enough and that I remember how to do this. I didn't doll myself up. I've looked like this all day. If you saw my DM or my social from earlier this morning, you know that it started out with a busted poop bag and a lot of poop and a longer walk. And that never is a good thing. Because if there's one thing we know as dog owners, you gotta pick up the poop, okay? Nobody likes it when you leave your poop out. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed last week's episode with Sunny. I do want to personally apologize for the shitty sound quality. That actually sounded really good. And then as I edited the interview down, I was trying new things and I was like, ooh, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll do this. And basically wound up fucking the sound up completely. So that is actually what I do. The more time I spend on something to make it perfect, it actually ends up like a shoddier product. Much like me with the makeup. I spend too much time on it. I look like a clown and have to start over. So I'm just going back to basics today, and hopefully this sound quality will be so much better. My new website, which should be up and running over the next week, should have more links and information about all of that. Also, the full interview will be on there so you can see. I do talk some during it, but I was just fascinated by everything she was talking about. So she was like, oh my God, Nicole, I talked the whole time. You didn't say anything. And I was like, but I was totally into everything that you said, and everything I said I felt like was stupid. So it was really nice to have someone else talking and saying smart, cool things. So anyway, moving along. It is graduation week number 1. So the first of the 2 graduations will happen. And I cannot tell you how much stuff is involved with graduating people. And I did not know this, and I'm glad I know now, but I have literally been underwater because we know May is the feast or famine month. It's the weather's great and everyone wants to hang out and everyone wants to have a party and everyone wants to do this, and it's awesome. It's all so good, but it's can feel overwhelming, and everyone in my house looks like a bomb went off in it because I can't quite get to that. I'm getting there. I'm trying to get there. So I think my husband basically just drinks every time I say that. So he's in a perpetual state of buzzdom. Anyhow, shout out to all of the graduates that are graduating this weekend or have previously graduated last weekend or the weekend before, because we've had a boatload of them. But my oldest son is graduating Friday, and it's kind of hard to believe. And I'm a little sad, but super excited. So to my son and his group of friends, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are solid, respectful, cool, smart kids. They're just awesome guys. So any guys who go on spring break with their mommies, I think are pretty fucking cool. So congratulations, boys. So I've got to look at my notes really fast because I've already done notes at least 3 times to make this as succinct as possible, to make my editing process easier, so that the sound quality and the length will be spot on great. Oh, cool. I'm getting some shadow from the sun. Oh my God. Now I look like I have well, I don't. Anyway. Okay. Sorry. My mind is a cup full of Pop Rocks, and someone pours the Coke into it. And it's just someone recently told me, they were I just like to sometimes just sit back and listen and watch your mind as it just looks so. I know, it's exhausting. All right, so what I'm loving, and I know this is not going to be a surprise to anybody, but the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs. Guys, if you are not watching, you've got to tune in. And you've got to tune in if you especially live on the East Coast, because TNT broadcasts the Eastern Division Finals, or I'm sure I'm getting all that shit wrong, but the East Coast people. And it's the Carolina Hurricanes, which is a preferred team, And the Florida Panthers, also a preferred team. So it's like they're neck and neck here. Well, they're not neck and neck. They're neck and neck in my book. But in the sports book right now, the Panthers are up 3-0, which means if they win tonight, which is Wednesday night, then they are moving on to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that would be amazing. If Carolina comes back, then they're on the road to like make it towards a 5th, 6th, 7th game. So we always root for a 7-game series because that just means there's more. And I will be honest with you, the fights are getting crazy good. The chirping is getting awesome. Everything is just an intensity level of like 12. So out of 10. So anyway, you should be watching. And the reason I say TNT is because they have a super adorable, super educational, and highly entertaining cast of characters that are calling that's just the tractor going by, that are calling the game and doing the intermissions and stuff. And they do such a great job. So anyway, Stanley Cup playoffs, TNT, tune in. It's the best entertainment you're going to get. I promise you. So it's been an exciting couple of weeks for the pod because I have now 2 interns and I'm super excited. Today we were chatting and I was saying something and she said, oh my gosh, my friend always says, just, you know what? Embrace the cringe. And I was like, Dahlia, I'm taking that. And that is going to be the quote of the week. Embrace the cringe, because there's so much going on reality TV. There's so much going on in our real world that is so cringeworthy that you just got to embrace the cringe and just love it, because I don't think there's anywhere way else to be. So I haven't been paying as much attention to the news. So I've taken 3 items that are in the news that I feel like I want to just like talk about. And if you don't know what's going on in the news because you're living, like breathing out of a straw as well, here's what's happening. You're not missing a ton, other than if you're not watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. But number 1, as of today, which is Wednesday, the debt issue is not resolved. And I feel like it's like a couple arguing over like their monthly finances. It can't go on forever. And you got to do something. So here is how I personally would solve this issue. Number 1, express regret. Say, you know what? Yes, it would have been awesome if we had thought about this, or if we had acted on this, or if we had taken our part to do this. But you know what? Hindsight's 20/20, okay? So own your shit and move on. The next thing is everybody take a time out. Go home to wherever it is that you have privacy. And I want you to get laid or do whatever it is that you do to pleasure yourself. Do that several fucking times, okay? And then come on back, everybody like reconvene. And now we say, okay, we're all in a better headspace. We're going to move the fuck on and compromise. Everybody's got to give. Nobody's getting the shit that they want, or at least all of it. I'll put us out of our misery here. I don't want to hear about this anymore, okay? You're paid to fucking do your job. Do your fucking job. Number 2, everybody wants to go out. They want to be outside. They want to go to dinner. They want to go for drinks. They want to go have a coffee. They want to do walk and talk, and I'm one of them. Now that it's out in the open, I'm going to go ahead and say, I am not a fan of the QR code menu. I understand why they exist. I get that it is fiscally responsible. I get that in ways it helps the environment. I get that it is easier in some ways, but I'm done with them. Okay. And I think a lot of people are. In fact, I read a couple articles that said, yeah, people are done with fucking QR code menus. I personally enjoy asking the waiter or waitress, especially if I've never been somewhere. If there's a special, I'll be like, ooh, what's your favorite thing? Or, oh, do you like that? Or, oh, are there a lot of onions in that? Because we all know I hate onions, So they are a source of knowledge for me that a QR code cannot give to me. If it is not just like a tiny little like, oh, we have 3 things here, 3 things here, and 3 things here, and that's it, and you can literally see it on a chalkboard, it is really, really hard to like zoom in and then scroll, and then scan, and you'll be like, oh, that looks good. And then you have to like, the waiter comes up and you're like, wait, I saw it back here. I mean, that to me is just like an inefficient use of time. 3 is, if I am getting confused on the menu, or like can't find what I want, I am just going to start asking for or describing what I want. I'll be like, I actually just want like a salad. Do you have like a salad that has like salmon and like hard-boiled eggs and, you know, like a balsamic dressing without any onions near it? And what are your French fries like? Are they like steak fries? Or they, you know, and then that is just going to annoy the shit out of the waiters. The third thing, or the fourth thing rather, is remember that time when you would go out to dinner with your kids and you'd be like, why do we ever do this? This is so much fun. Well, before everyone let their kids on the phones, we like gave them these things called crayons, and they're like writing utensils. They're not pens and they're not pencils, so they're not erasable, but like the kids can use them to draw and color with. And so sometimes you would go to a place and they'd be like, oh, we have a sweet little kids menu and you can play tic-tac-toe, or you can, you know, do your like Pokemon person and color that away, and, you know, something to occupy them that doesn't involve the phone, so that you're not irritated by all of their stupid sounds from the games that they're playing or when they're getting in fights or screaming at the screen. So that is also another reason that hard copy menus are better. There's also this thing now that their restaurants are charging, they're calling a service charge. And I will go on record as saying any fucking fee or service charge, I will dispute. I will ask, what the fuck is this? Because if I am a firm believer, if it costs this much, just have it cost that much. Don't give me some rando charge that then I'm like, well, is this going to the cleaning staff? Is this going to the wait staff? Do I tip on top of this? Is this taxed? I don't know. And then I become that annoying person, which I never want to be, that annoying person who's asking that shit. Don't put the service charge on there. Just fucking raise the price of the fish $2, you know? Like, come on. So that was an aside to the QR code portion of things. And finally, the reason why I do not care for the QR codes is sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And it makes me feel like I'm not supposed to really bother the waiter or waitress. I'm just supposed to be like, QR code, point to that, and then they're going to go on their merry way. Which then I'm like, the experience of the entire sitting down and like having someone serve you is kind of like dissolved a little bit, because then I'm like, well, I mean, I might as well just go to a kiosk and order my food and pay for it through the kiosk. And then I can get my own bottle of wine and I can get my own water. And then I can just sit my ass down and I can tip myself for excellent service, you know? Like it doesn't make sense. So move away from the QR codes when it comes to restaurants, please. Please, please, please. Just bring back the menus, okay? Just bring them back. That's all. Okay. The third thing that is in the news that is just giving me some laughs, confusion. It's all of the above. We have a ton of presidential candidates putting their name in the ring, or their hat in the ring. What's that? There are all these sayings that some of them I don't understand. So I think it's their hat in the ring or their name in the hat. I think that's how it goes. So anyway, from what the latest that I read, we have 3 people that have put their name in for the Democratic Party. And then I think we have like 7 people now, because DeSantis went ahead and you know, put his name in. And you know how I feel about DeSantis, because he is the Disney hater. Disney hater DeSantis is basically who he is. I was finding out just little factoids about each of them. I'm not at all invested in this election. I vote every time because that is your right, and you should always do that, in my opinion. However, I am considering for the very first time just doing a write-in. And I'm thinking that I have a perfect presidential candidate for 2024. And I truly think that if we share this with the masses, this can catch on. And this person may consider it. I doubt it, but maybe he will. I would like for Charles Barkley, Sir Charles, Chuck, or as I refer to him, Chuckles. I would like for Charles Barkley, Chuckles, to be the presidential nominee for the Get Shit Done Properly party. It's new. Nobody has to feel like they're betraying anyone. It's just a brand new party. Name could be worked on. That's fine. And here's why I support Charles Barkley for president. Number one, he's an American. And I don't say that only because that's one of the qualifications you have to be president. But he's also an Olympian, which is fucking awesome, right? Number two, he is married, and he is married to a white, lovely, funny woman who is not in the limelight really at all. They've been married for a gajillion years, maybe 30 or something. She's not that old, so I don't know. Anyway, they've been married a really long time. I don't hear about him stepping out on her. I don't hear about her stepping out on him. It seems like they live their own little life there. He has a child, and that child is well adjusted and lives her life with her family. She's not causing any ruckus in the news, so there's that. Oh, he's black. If you guys didn't know who Charles Barkley is, he's black, which is awesome. He's already rich, so he does not need the money, nor does he need any kickbacks from lobbyists or whatever. So he's already rich. Now, I will say, I know what you're thinking. Nicole, he's already rich, so he definitely doesn't want this job. He doesn't need the job. You're right. That's another reason that Charles Barkley would be a wonderful president, because he doesn't want this job. Sometimes I think no one in their right mind would want this job. But lots of times when you don't want the job, you're actually the perfect person for it, because he doesn't give a fuck. Now, I say that, but he does. He is a very, very candid person who speaks his mind. I've listened to a lot of interviews with him. He's comfortable in front of a crowd. He's also comfortable answering questions honestly. And he does so in a way that he's not afraid to hurt people's feelings. But at the same time, I think he tries to remain respectful, and that there's a balance to that. Everyone gets their fucking feelings hurt all the time. So once you get past that, it's either are you hurting 5 million people's feelings, or are you hurting 1 million people's feelings? I don't know. There's a lot of feelings going around. I support feelings. I do. But you know what? Everyone gets their feelings hurt, and we all just need to digest it and move along, right? He is able to deal with all types of personalities, egomaniacs. That's a big one. And I think that in politics and dealing with, other leaders, I think that you have to have a certain amount of confidence, swagger, maybe narcissism to do that. And I think that he is well-versed in hanging out or dealing with people like that. He is very funny, and I think he's inspiring to grown-ups and children alike. He knows what it is like to have money, and he knows what it is like to come from modest means, having no money, and he knows what it's like to lose money. And I think that a solid sense of money is a big, big qualifier for a president. He's 60. He's not 30. He's not 90. He's somewhere in the middle. That's a great age. He takes pretty good care of himself. Let me see what else I have here. The big question would be, after will you run, is who is going to run with him? I have spent more time than I care to admit thinking about this and researching people, because it would have to be a really, really special person, because he's such a dynamic personality, So that person would have to be able to be okay with being back here a little I mean, he's also enormous, so that allows for him to have a very commanding presence. So that person will already be in the shadows because he's like 6'6". But anyway, I digress. I am going to put this out on social, and I'm going to pose this as a question on the pod. Who would make the best running mate for Charles Barkley in the presidential election? I accept all answers except ChatGPT or any kind of form of bot. It has to actually be a real person. And the hashtag that we're going to use for my campaign for him is Chuckles in Charge. So it's hashtag Chuckles in Charge. I think this is going to be awesome. I'm really excited about this idea. I've been like glowing for the past 2 days just thinking about it. You know, if you want more information about Charles Barkley, or if you want to hear him, he actually has his own podcast. I'm not going to like give free ads out because I'm already like pumping his tires so ridiculously. But check him out. He's pretty honest and he's very straightforward. And I do believe, the last thing I will say about him is I believe that he is secure in himself enough to know that like when he doesn't know an area, that he's going to find someone that he trusts that has experience in that area that is going to do the right thing. So the key is to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you in those areas and make like what we've talked about before, like a little Justice League. I did think about Thor as his running mate. Chris Hemsworth, though, is Australian, I believe. And that I think that knocks him out. So, and Thor is actually not a real person. So that knocked them out completely. So anyway, I'm open to all suggestions. I really, really feel strongly about this. I think we have this is a great idea. And if you're asking like, Nicole, what's with the obsession with Charles Barkley? Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story, and I am not pumping my own tires here because I can go on record as saying, while what I'm about to tell you is the absolute truth, I can guarantee you that A, it happened so long ago, and B, Chuckles was extremely intoxicated, so remembers nothing of our interaction. But it goes as follows. So, Chuckles played basketball at Auburn. His coach there was Sonny Smith. Sonny Smith then was affiliated with VCU, which is a college here in Richmond. And they had a charity golf tournament all the time. I, at the time, was working at a local bar that was fairly well-known, casual, super casual, right? So anyway, Sonny Smith, and if you've ever heard of the show Saved by the Bell, Mr. Belding, come in to the bar that I work at. And this has kind of been a thing where like, it's not the first time that they've done this because the golf tournament happens yearly. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know, as we know, anything really about basketball, but like I know who some players are, some popular players. And so the first thing you notice is that he is fucking enormous. Like he's a huge, huge man. The second thing is super funny and super nice, like ridiculously nice. And now that could be the fact that they were playing golf all day and now they're at a bar and it's probably like 11 o'clock at night. So I keep all that, right? So we get to talking, everybody's having beers, whatever. And he says he wants to buy the bar around. And I, of course, am like, oh my gosh, my concept of money at that point is like, I am waiting tables and bartending. Like I'm not making a ton of money or anything. And so I was like, ooh, I don't think you want to do that, Charles. I didn't call him Chuckles at that point because that would have been disrespectful. I felt like we had just met. But so I said, hey, like that table over there can go through like 2 bottles of Jaeger like really quickly. And he looks at me, and it's not a big bar. And he looks at me and he goes, girl, I'm walking in here with $35 million and I'm walking out of here with $35 million. Now, remember how I don't understand money as well once we get past like a million, whether it's a billion or a trillion or something. I'm pretty sure at that point he said million because it was a few years ago or several years ago. But regardless, the point was I've got plenty of money and I'm not losing any of this money buying this little bar a round of drinks for what probably was like $250. But to me, I was like, oh my gosh, wow, that's so nice. So you must have done that like 2 or 3 times. Really sweet, gracious guy. He also talked to my brother on the phone because one of my brother's friends was at the bar. My brother's a firefighter at the time. And so he was at the station, and the friend called my brother at the station, was like, dude, your sister's talking to Charles Barkley. And so they said, dude, you got to talk to your brother. And so I get on the phone with my brother, and then Charles was like, let me talk to him. So my brother and his friend can totally vouch for this entire story, that it actually did happen. Now, again, I understand that Chuckles is never going to remember this, and that's totally fine. But that was my first interaction with him. And from that point on, I've always been a little fascinated. And so whenever he's like on the news or doing an interview, I'll like tune in because I just like to listen to him, you know? So anyway, that is my personal reference for Chuckles for president. So think about a running mate. If you have reasons that you think he should not, you may keep them to yourself, okay? Because this is an excellent idea, and I do not like to be challenged on my wonderful, awesome ideas. So I have an injury, and I'm not even going to go into it because it's fucking ridiculous, and I don't want to hear people like, oh my God, you're always injured. Oh my God. So we're not going to talk about it, other than I'm going to say I'm injured. And so over the weekend, I went hiking and with some friends, and one of the friends is a doctor, and she's like, I know you're super cool, and I know that you're probably too cool for this, but I really, really think with this injury, you should probably use like walking sticks. And I was like, oh my God, you want me to use walking sticks? Like, how old am I? Like 90? So anyway, she's like, I just would feel better about it. I think that, this could be bad. So I was like, okay, fine. So I use the walking sticks, even though I don't want to, but I do. And God darn it, that was a good idea because they are awesome. Okay. The other thing was, I thought, oh, everyone's going to be like, oh, look at Granny over there with her walking sticks. No, there were tons of people with walking sticks. They're a thing, and they're a cool thing. And if someone says you should use them, you should, because they're amazing. They're awesome. And then when she told me I would get a better workout using them, I was like, give them to me. So she probably lied and said that, but she knew. I'd be like, oh, if I'm going to burn more calories, I'll definitely use them. Deep thought number 2, HBO will always and forever be HBO to me. I am one of those people that, like, if the restaurant, when I first went to it, was, let's say, and this is a true story, Freckles. The restaurant was Freckles. Well, now Freckles closed, but Freckles is something else. Well, I don't know what the new name of Freckles is. I just say Old Freckles. Regardless of rebranding, it's going to always be Old Freckles to me. So HBO is now like really doing this huge push because they now want their name to be Max. Okay. Max may or may not be a family member's name of mine. So I love that name, but I will not refer to HBO as anything other than HBO. So that rebranding is lost on me for certain. And I'm going to venture to say a ton of people that really don't give a fuck about the fact that they're rebranding and now everything is Max because Max is better than HBO. I don't know. If you're rebranding your name, if you're rebranding your logo, go for it. If you're rebranding your tagline, go for it. If you're rebranding your name, I really feel strongly about the fact that, like, if you went by Billy in high school and that's what everyone knew you as, and then when you leave, you're now William or Liam, great. But the odds of someone calling you William or Liam, when you like go back for a reunion or you run into someone from high school, they're going to fucking call you Billy because that's what they know you as originally. So I guess the rebranding is great for people who never really got the full HBO experience or anything like what I'm saying. But I think it is a colossal waste of money, and I think it is fucking stupid. That's just me. Deep thought number 3. I read about this like 2 years ago. Oh, look. Greasy, like a it's so gross. Sorry. I'm wrapping up. I really need like a sunshade. So Swedish death cleaning is essentially like a take on Marie Kondo's like tidying up. It's basically like, do I love this item? No, I'm throwing it away. I'm getting rid of it. But I love the name of it, Swedish death cleaning, because it's like very intense and it's like, we're going in and we're fucking torching this place, which we're not, but that's the feeling. And it's like, let's get the intensity behind it and let's just get this shit out of here. So it's now like making resurgence. It's one of these things where I was like, oh, I'm going to get that book. Oh, I'm going to do that. And then of course I'm so ADD that I forget. And then in my clutter, the book is like on the bottom of like all of these papers and stuff that's been buried for 2 years. So anyway, this summer's coming. You may find yourself with some extra time on your hands if it's like excessively humid or a windy, stormy day and you feel like you really want to be productive. Go get the audiobook of Swedish Death Cleaning. I hope that you have a marvelous holiday weekend. I hope that it does not rain. I hope you get to do whatever it is that you want to do. And I hope if anyone saw my post on social today, that when you are walking your dog, you bring more than one poop bag with you, because that is when you do definitely need multiples. Not every time, but I would definitely say with poop bags and with condoms and tampons. Always go with multiples. That is a pro tip right there. So, all right. Now remember, breathing through a straw, but still fine. It's all going to be fine. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't get done, it'll get done tomorrow. Or someone will bitch at you for not getting it done, and it's still going to fucking be fine.